what Sarai has said, the next 2 to 3 years is almost a choice point for many of us. Energy right now for me has been very uprooting. A lot of these difficult situations, challenges are coming up because they provide us an opportunity to choose. We're all just choosing what reality we want to live in. What if there are an infinite number of realities unfolding in an infinite number of timelines? There's so many ways that this could unfold.
But supposedly there's a ship that's coming behind the sun, tracked by NASA. A lot of people are saying that there's extraterrestrials on it, some of which are Andromedan.
What Sarai has shared is that this collective of beings are almost like, she's described them as angels of Andromeda. That experience of your true self is not a thought. It's a feeling. It's a sensation. And so we would say, take all of the energy and attention out of your head, out of your thinking, and instead focus it on your heart. So we would say for many of those listening, what you are on the cusp of is a choice point. So for each and every individual on the planet, there's not only one reality. Of course, there is the earth reality that they are living, that they can experience physically, but there is also within the quantum field or the quantum reality, there's all the other potentials of all the other earths that are just as valid. It's just not the one they are experiencing.
Welcome everybody to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. Today I'm really excited because we get our new friend Karen Bell with us, who has the same initials as me, KB.
KB.
How you doing today, Karen?
I'm really great, Kyle. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to have you because over the last few months, a lot of Andromedan stuff has been coming into my life. Like it's been pinged as this is a group of beings that you really need to look into. And I haven't looked into them yet because I'm like, it's just going to happen. And as I was digging into your stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, you channel Sarai, who's from the Andromedans. And I get to learn about the Andromedans today. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, totally. It is exciting. I didn't really know anything about them either. And sometimes I still feel like I'm still learning, but I think what's important to recognize is the feeling or the frequency or the resonance. So anytime we're tuning into these extra dimensional beings or these beings from other civilizations, they all have their unique energy or frequency. Yeah. So probably that excitement you're feeling is partly the energy that they're sending to you, I would say.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. Well, I am letting them know that I have been receiving it.
Yes. Yes.
So before we dive in, I would love to know, is there anything that your heart wants to share in this moment?
Oh, what does my heart want to share? Well, I'm very passionate about connecting people with their true identity. That's the way Sarai describes it, as true identity. But what that really means is the soul. So the essence of who you truly are beyond the form, beyond your physical body, your personality. You know, we are these vast beings of light. We are incredible beings of light. We're so much more powerful than sometimes we realize. And so that's what I love about my work. And that's where my passion lies. So I'm excited to have this conversation to maybe, help people connect with who they are beyond this human form.
Yeah. Now, have you found that a lot more people are waking up to who they really are at this specific time?
I think so. I mean, in my work, I obviously attract a lot of people who are on that journey of waking up. But I do think it's one of those moments in time where some of the wake-up calls are very difficult for people, right? There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of, it feels like people being almost like shaken, shaken awake, which, when I look back on my journey, I can say that those really difficult moments were my wake-up calls. In the moment that I was in them, I would be like praying, get me out of this situation. But, when you look back on your life stories, sometimes it's those most difficult moments that were the ones that led to the greatest awakening. So I'm so grateful to know that, because as I experience difficulty and challenge now, then I can remember that and realize, okay, this is just me on the cusp of the next phase of my awakening to my true self. Because the journey, I don't think ends, Kyle. I think we're just always right on that journey of becoming more full embodiments of our soul or our true identity.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, have you tuned into any energetic shifts? We hear a lot about different things happening energetically in the world right now. Have you tuned into anything that's happening specifically that's causing more or less awakening at this time?
It just feels what Sarai has said recently is that the next 2 to 3 years is almost like a choice point for many of us.
Mm,
So, again, a lot of these difficult situations, challenges are coming up because they provide us an opportunity
yeah.
to choose whether we want to align with our soul, right? Or to choose to sort of stay asleep and stay in the programming and the conditioning. So the energy right now for me has been very, and a lot of people that I work with has been very uprooting,
Mm,
and so that is terrifying to our human self, right?
yeah.
When we feel that sense of being uprooted, because there's a sense of uncertainty in that, and our human self will always be frightened of uncertainty because it wants predictability because that feels safe. So there's a lot of people now, me included, that are on the cusp of uncertainty, on the cusp of big changes, and our soul's asking us to step into that and trust our intuition and trust our passion and our excitement as forms of guidance. It takes a lot of courage, I feel, to step into that, because it's what's trying to happen is that all of this programmed belief systems, thought forms, all the emotional energy attached to that, all of that old energy that is survival energy, I think is trying to be dissolved,
Yeah.
right? Because our soul energy is not here for survival. It's here for expansion. It's here for creation. It's here for passion. It's here for joy. So if you're in the frequency of survival or any of those low frequencies, your soul is going to shake you up a bit to help you release all of that lower frequency energy and information.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And now you're saying that it's a choice point in the next 2, 3 years. Have you and Sarai played the tape forward to see what happens depending on how you choose? Like,
Yeah, so um, I mean, the choice is you either align with your soul and you follow your intuition, or you stay in that survival place. And so you can even feel, as I talk about it in this moment, this is a choice of energy or frequency.
mm,
There's the choice to stay the same, which
mm,
is sort of again the survival program, and then there's the choice to awaken or up level, or and there's no. I should just say this because this is important. There's no right or wrong choice. It's just an
mm,
exploration of frequency.
yeah,
So, but I would say that many of the people listening to this particular broadcast are likely more interested in the path of awakening.
yeah,
So, on the other side of that, right, when we choose that, when we step into it and we dissolve all of that fear, life has to be good. Life has to be joyful and passionate, right? Because our reality is reflective in nature. So if we have the courage to just step into that fire and start to dissolve some of all of that that's coming up, then we can sort of rest assured that because of this reflective nature of reality, that our lives are going to be more expansive and more joyful and more passionate on the other side of that, right? But for the human self, it's a leap, I would say.
yeah. It's interesting. You were talking about people watching, and most of them are like on this path of awakening. It was one of the coolest things. I was at my men's basketball league the other day. Two of my high school buddies, who I never in a million years thought would be watching this stuff, they reached out, they came up to me and they're like, Kyle, I just saw this video of you the other day on YouTube, and it was about you having extraterrestrial babies. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's
Awesome.
happening. It's happening.
Yeah,
The
totally.
awakening is
Yeah,
happening. And it
I've
wasn't
had
even
that
weird.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that too, where people that I would not think at all are interested in my work, or some of the more stranger, elements are like opening to it. Like they're
Yeah.
interested. And I think the cool thing about Sarai, the Being I Channel, is that you don't actually have to believe that I'm channeling or that she's this extra dimensional being, but when you feel the energy and you hear the words and you feel the resonance of the message, that's really what it's about, I think.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I don't focus on the fact even that she's Andromedan or she's a star being. I focus on the message because I think that's what's most important.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love that. Now, so we're having, people are either going to stay the same or they're going to evolve. Is this kind of like what we hear people talking about in the two earths, where there are going to be a lot of people? It's almost polarized in that way, where it's like people are awakened or they just stayed the same, and neither is wrong.
yeah, I do feel that way. So it's almost like there are all of these realities. Could think of it as two earths. You could even think of it as an infinite number of realities. And we're all just choosing what reality we want to live in.
Mm,
And I do think, in spirituality, there's this concept of abundance that I don't think our human minds can necessarily wrap our heads around. Because what if there are an infinite number of realities,
Yeah.
right, unfolding in an infinite number of timelines, and by choosing our frequency, especially deliberately, when we deliberately choose our frequency, we're also deliberately choosing the timeline that we want to live out.
Mm.
So that's sort of the way I think of it, is that yes, from this powerful present moment, there's so many ways that this could unfold. But this is the moment that you get to choose. You choose by where you're placing your attention. This is, you choose by what you're noticing within yourself, by what you're choosing to dissolve in terms of limitation, thought forms, emotional energies attached to those. So we are at this powerful choice point, but it's in this moment, and then the future will unfold from there. So again, we can rest assured that it's going to be good if we're choosing
Yeah.
the higher frequencies of the heart, right? Of
Yeah.
compassion and love and
Yeah.
joy and passion and devotion and
Yeah.
all those juicy ones.
Now, do you believe, or does Sarai believe that we're going to reach a point where it's harder to choose, or is everybody always going to be able to choose, to jump to that place of, I guess, expansion?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that we always have the freedom to choose. And when I feel into people's spiritual awakenings and spiritual unfoldments, I very often describe it as very much like a flower blooming,
Yeah.
meaning you're not really in control.
Yeah. Yeah.
You like to think that you
Right,
are.
right, right.
We all love to think that we are in control of
Yeah.
this. And certainly we can create the right conditions, right? So we can have a spiritual practice, we can pray, we can meditate, we can do yoga, we can eat certain foods. Like all that is awesome, and I follow all of that. At the end of the day, I feel like the spiritual unfoldment is up to the divine. It's up to this divine energy that's flowing through all of us. And so what's helpful is to reach a place of surrender to that, to recognize, oh my gosh, there's this incredible, intelligent energy that's in my body right here, right now. And if I just start to feel into that and trust it and surrender to it and let it lead the way, then that's what's ultimately creating what I desire. People think they are desiring all these external things. I think at the end of the day, we're really desiring connection with our truest self and embodiment of our truest self, and to have the freedom to choose to make decisions to create our life based on that, not based on all of these thought forms that were conditioned into us at a young age.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, get me out of my way. I loved hearing
Yeah.
you just say that, because I could feel it, connecting with that higher intelligence that is so much, it's beautiful energy. And when I turn my will over to that energy, all things seem to just go so much better. And
Yes,
when I
totally.
keep control, not so much.
Yes, yeah. Well, we see it in nature. If we just step out into nature, there's this
Yeah.
beautiful, harmonious flow, and it's not efforting, and yet everything is changing and growing and flourishing. And so we can
Mm,
learn so much from that.
yeah.
It is the energy of surrender, but it's not that there's stagnancy in surrender. People, I think, are afraid they're going to surrender and then nothing's going to happen because I'm like, right? But
Yeah.
it's no, the divine is flow. It's creativity, it's passion, it's aliveness, it's joy. So when you align with that, your life becomes a reflection of that.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times we're taking action in life and we're trying so hard and we're doing so many things. But for many of us, where that stems from, that insatiable drive for action, is at its root. It's a limiting belief of inadequacy. Who I am is what I do, or the more I do, the more worthy I am, or the more lovable I am, right?
Yeah.
So when we're driving ourselves, or like all this motivation, all this achievement, all this productivity, and we're celebrated for it in the culture, but at the end of the day, it's actually coming from something false. It's not actually true.
Yeah.
Because we're worthy because we exist, and we're lovable because we exist, not
Yeah.
because we have achieved something or because we've got everything on our to-do list checked off that day.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. And if you're out there and you're listening, and that's the case for you, where you're feeling like you're working really hard for love, I can relate right now and
I
throughout my
can
whole
too.
life.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
for me, it comes from childhood. Just having some parents that were busy. Just like look at me, come on, I'm here.
Yes.
And it has nothing to
Yes.
do with being anyone's fault. But I just got into the rat race at a young age of like working
Yes.
hard for love.
So
But
many of us
yeah,
can relate to that. I can 100% relate to that, right? And it goes back to the patterns and conditioning because we're like little sponges, right?
yeah,
Especially till we're about 7 or 8, we really are taking everything in and we're observing everything and we're forming our beliefs about life and ourselves. And this is where a lot of these patterns come from. So part of the path of awakening is just recognizing, what have I been believing that isn't ultimately true about myself, about life,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because what I experience with myself and so many people is we're kind of working too hard, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We don't have that ease, that surrender, that flow of nature. Instead, we're just trying to make it happen and we're like driving forward and we're driving ourselves crazy because we're actually doing too much,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it's noticing, do I feel that energy active in my body of, right, of like needing to be in the future is usually how it manifests.
Yeah,
Do I notice that in my body, that insatiable drive?
yeah.
Or am I taking action from a place of peace and passion and
Mm,
alignment and connection and flow? It's a very different feeling. You could be taking the same amount of action, but
yeah.
the feeling underneath it is very different.
It's
So,
entirely different, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
When you said the part about, believing like who you are, like me and who I think I am sometimes versus like that God transcended being, it's an entirely different. It's almost like everything I believe about myself is wrong, you
Yes,
know?
yeah. And it could, I mean, that we have to laugh about that because that could very well be. And when we can recognize that and think it's hilarious, and Sarai always has this saying she says, well, isn't that cute? Isn't it
Yeah,
cute that I believed that for 30 years or however long?
yeah,
When
yeah,
we can hold amusement and compassion for ourselves, not criticism, because that would be going back into the old pattern, but when we can hold compassion, that's where the liberation truly lives.
yeah.
Yeah.
Be easy with yourself.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I would love to hear a little bit more about how you met Sarai and when you met Sarai.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have to sort of back up in time because this journey was an unfoldment over many years.
Yeah.
So back in sort of the mid 2000s, I was working as a makeup artist, and that's really where it started because what unfolded at that time was that I started to have psychic impressions of the people that I was doing makeup on. And it
Nice.
was very subtle at first, but it was undeniable. It was something that made me very curious, made me think I was crazy at first, but it's what sparked my interest in the psychic arts. And so I started developing, or I started studying clairvoyance and psychic ability and all of that. Over the course of time, that led into mediumship experiences. So within a couple years, I was starting to see and sense people's loved ones on the other side, interacting
Wow.
with them. So through that experience, I was so blessed to find a spiritualist church. Spiritualism is a religion where mediumship is honored and studied and practiced. And so I received training through spiritualism, also through other teachers. But there's a real focus on connecting with the spirit world and evidential mediumship. And then from there, I started studying trance mediumship. So trance mediumship is connecting with the spirit world in an altered state of consciousness. So basically, putting yourself in an altered state. The reason that's important in relation to Sarai was because it was when I started studying trance and when I specifically started meditating every day that I started going into this altered state and sensing this blue energy beside me. At first, I didn't realize it was a being. It was just this blue orb, but it was really loving and peaceful. And I just, I looked forward to meditating every morning to experience this energy. Over the course of, I would say, a couple months, this energy started to communicate with me. And so I started sitting with a pen and paper and writing down what I was receiving. She had a very cosmic feel. The experience of communicating was exactly the same as mediumship. But yet the energy wasn't the spirit world. She had a cosmic feel, and then I started to see what she looked like, and I just realized, oh, this is a being from another place in the
Yeah.
universe. This isn't the spirit world. Yeah, so over the course of time, I continued to just sit and take notes and write down what she was saying. And then when she started speaking through me, that was spontaneous also. I was leading a meditation in 2023. I'd started a weekly meditation group on Zoom, and just something just started speaking through me. And at the end of the session, I said to a friend, like, oh, wow, that wasn't me. That was this blue energy I've been connecting to in meditation. So that's sort of how it all started. And yeah, it was 2018 or late 2017, 2018 that I first connected with her in meditation. And
Yeah.
it's just sort of snowballed since then
Yeah.
in the best possible way.
Yeah. So how has it snowballed since then? Like, what kind of messages are you receiving from Sarai, or how has she came to you since that time?
Yeah, so well, the meditations that I started channeling were really powerful.
Yeah.
And they were all focused, mostly focused on helping a person connect with, again, their true self, their true identity, their soul.
Yeah.
Along with that, recognizing not only who you truly are, but who you are not, which is you're not the mind. You're not this incessant stream of thinking. And when you can back up and recognize that that's not who you are, you can also find the power to start to observe all of those thought forms and release the ones that are not in harmony with your true self. So that has been all these meditations. I mean, we have about 2 years of meditations now, I think on maybe 2.5 weekly meditations that are all the archives are in my Patreon community. But it's just been incredible. And then to witness how she works with people, like she has this incredible way of having this laser-like focus on what the thought forms are that aren't actually true, that's driving your behavior, that's like driving your actions, helping a person witness those in a very compassionate, loving way. And then through that compassionate witnessing, the person's able to release that. Often people smile, they laugh, they feel the freedom on the other side of, oh, I can't believe that, again, I was believing that for so long. But that's when the change really happens, because all of a sudden the thought form that was at the root of all your decisions, all your actions, that was driving your behavior is no longer in you.
Yeah.
And so people's lives change very dramatically. People have had different physical like shifts, healings. People have just been incredibly liberated by some of the information that has come through.
Yeah, that's
So,
great. And so we were talking previously about how Sarai is an Andromedan being. How did you learn that she was an Andromedan, and what does that really mean?
yeah, so she was the one, she told me that. So
Yeah.
she said that she was from the Andromedan galaxy, so not the constellation, and that she was an ambassador. When she first started coming through, she identified herself as an ambassador for a collective of master healers. So that was, even if you look at some of my early YouTube videos, that's on the video, but then she shifted that because they're always learning from interacting with us. And so that term master sort of implies an endpoint. And so over time, that was, she sort of released that term because they don't want to imply that there's an endpoint to anything. So it's not, when we take that term into our minds, master, we kind of think of, oh, like someone who's totally mastered, who's, but even the Andromedans are still evolving. All civilizations in the universe are. But she speaks for this collective of beings that I would describe them as they all hold the same intention, which is assisting in the evolution of human consciousness right now.
Wow.
So again, the way that I would describe it, or the way that I describe as a spiritual ascension, we hear that term a lot, right? Raising your vibration.
Yeah.
So what might help to understand that is understanding what keeps our vibration at this lower frequency, which is, again, all of these programmed thoughts, beliefs that are in our mental body or our energy body. When we start to release those, our energy shifts, it up levels, and we are more able to be channels or vessels for our true self. Our true self, or our soul energy, vibrates at this frequency that is the same as source, basically, or the same as God, or the same as unconditional love. So when you start to release all of this programming, all of this false energy, false information, then all of a sudden your entire human vessel becomes a greater conduit for who you truly are. So that energy can more fully be expressed through you. Meaning when your soul gives you an idea, you're able to follow through with that idea, right? Fear doesn't stop you. Whereas sometimes if you're still in your head or in your mind, you get that idea, you receive that intuitive impulse, but what happens? You go into self-doubt, or you go into why it won't work, or you go into, right? So Sarai and the Andromedans are helping us release all that so we can be embodiments of our soul with the greater intention of assisting the evolution of human consciousness at this really powerful time in human
Yeah.
history.
I mean, that's so beautiful. I haven't heard, maybe I haven't, but I don't think I've ever heard of other beings that have the intention of specifically uplifting human consciousness as their primary
Mhm.
focus. So the
Mhm.
Andromedan are really here for us.
Well, this group is. I mean, I can't say that I know. Like, I don't have a sense of are there, like the whole of Andromedans have this
Yeah.
intention, but certainly the collective that Sarai speaks for hold this intention. And if you explore the root of that, it's because we're all interconnected. So we may think of these beings as total, other galaxy, other civilization, but at the end of the day, everything is one. We're all one. We're all creations of the divine. We're all interconnected. So what we are doing here actually is affecting everything in the universe.
Yeah.
Everything, everything, everything. Yeah.
Nice. Now, what's the most powerful message you've ever received from Sarai?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the most powerful message has just been that you are not your mind. And
Yeah.
so she might talk about this today. She compares this human construct to a computer. So she says that your physical body is like the hardware, your mind is like the software, but your true identity is the one sitting at the computer.
Mm.
You're the observer, you're the witness, you're the pure consciousness
Yeah.
witnessing what is going on in this little human suit.
Yeah.
And so when you take that seat, the seat of the soul,
Yeah.
that's when transformation takes place because all of a sudden there's some separation. You're witnessing, what's driving your behavior, what's motivating you in terms of action.
Yeah.
And so again, when you're dissolving all that is false, there is an incredible amount of energy liberated from that. And so I know it's really simple, but just the witnessing of who you truly are beyond this form has been for me the most powerful, powerful teaching. And I'm in the teaching with everybody. I like to remind everyone of that too. So like I receive the information, I channel it through, but I'm also always striving to follow it and embody it in my own life. And I'm constantly given very interesting challenges and situations to follow it
Oh, I
also.
love that. Yeah, there really isn't anything more powerful, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so because I think it's really cute to witness in that moment where you witness what has been driving your behavior for so long or what
Yeah.
has been leading you right along a certain path. And you just witness, wow, usually it's a survival program. It's what I needed to do when I was a kid to survive. And I've carried that pattern into adulthood. And
Yeah.
I'm still acting that out, even though I'm 35 or 47 or 65 or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
still acting that out. And oh, what happens if I just take a breath in this moment and just witness it and then hold compassion for it? Again, no criticism. But what happens if I just start to distance myself from that? And what would happen if I just start to not believe that thought that I'm not enough or that I need to prove my worthiness or that I need to achieve or be productive or all this myriad of things that we believe that aren't ultimately true.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's true
Yeah.
transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best work to be doing. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I just want to say too that for all those listening that are doing your individual work, you are here to do that individual work because again, we're all interconnected. So when you do your individual work, that shift gets fed into the collective consciousness and you are helping to uplift everybody,
Yeah.
right? It's
Thank
powerful.
you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, does Sarai get involved or like give you advice or feedback on events that are happening?
Not really, although I get a lot of questions around that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I get questions of that all the time, and I get questions. She receives questions, especially about prediction or about what we should do about this or what we should do
Yeah.
about that. And it's so amazing the way she answers those questions
Yeah.
because what she does is she points it back to you and asks, who is the one asking that question?
Yeah.
it's it's never the soul because to be
Yeah.
honest the soul doesn't care that much. Your
Yeah.
soul is here.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're interested in this work, your soul is here to be an emanation of this higher frequency.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about the lower frequency that's already manifested.
Right,
It
right, right.
doesn't, it's not in that pattern of trying to predict what's going to happen so I can figure out how to stay safe
Yeah,
and
yeah.
right. So Sarai always brings it back to, well, who's the one asking that question? And it's always the mind. And
Mm,
what does the mind need in that moment, or what is it looking for? It's looking for safety, it's looking for security, it's looking for comfort.
mm.
And as I connect in with my true self, my higher self, and source energy, can I start to feel, can I meet that need? Can I feel secure by connecting to Mother Earth or source energy? Can I create that security in my body right now? Because if I can, again, my external reality is going to reflect that back to me. So I don't have to control the external. I have
Yeah.
to create safety in my own body. I have to create a sense of being loved and worthy in my own body. So
Yeah.
but it's interesting because people ask stuff like that all the time, and then Sarai will just like rein them back in, rein
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The one that I was actually curious about, the only one that I really was thinking about asking Sarai is
Yeah.
I heard recently that people have been saying that the Three Eye Atlas. Have you heard about Three Eye Atlas?
No, no, I haven't.
Oh,
No.
so there's this ship that's coming. It's funny because I hadn't heard about it either, but supposedly there's this ship that's coming behind the sun, that's
Oh,
being
okay.
tracked by NASA, and
Hmm.
there a lot of people are saying that there's extraterrestrials on it, some of
Yeah.
which are Andromedan.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yeah,
So, yeah, I wouldn't. So, what Sarai has shared is that this collective of beings are almost like she's described them as angels of Andromeda. So,
okay,
they
cool.
are higher dimensional, non-physical beings. So, they
Yeah,
do not travel in ships. If you think of if you think of our reality, there's
yeah,
many densities in our reality. So, we have these, our obviously our physical bodies, and then we do have these extra dimensionals like angels that are sort of the overseers of us here on
yeah,
Earth. So Sarai, I like to think of her as that, is because she does describe herself as this angelic, and she feels very angelic, this angelic presence.
yeah. Do you know
So
what density she's from? Like, is it?
I don't really know that. Actually, I
Yeah.
haven't asked her, no.
Oh, okay.
But the sense is that she's, yeah, again, this non-physical presence, very loving, very compassionate, very funny,
Yeah,
again, uplifting, right?
yeah,
And I do feel that there are Andromedans that are more physical that could be traveling, in
yeah.
ships for sure. But I don't feel that this particular collective is of that nature.
That's cool. Now,
Yeah.
I would love to go back to what you said about training for trance channeling.
Yes.
So, how does
Yeah.
that all happen? Because I've seen, you see people
Yeah.
like go in trance and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah, so it was interesting the way it happened for me because I do feel like my teacher that I studied with in person had a sort of energetic impact or effect on me.
Yeah.
He's a trance channel and he flips into that altered state very easily. And I
Mm,
think when someone shifts into that altered state, I do think it sort of has the effect of entraining or shifting other people.
yeah.
So there's that. There's also the sense, too, though, that when another being is connecting in with us, whether they're from the spirit world or one of these extra dimensional beings, as they start to blend their energy with ours, so they're blending their energy field with ours, that's how the communication takes place. As that happens, there is sort of a natural shift in our state. So sometimes when I'm doing mediumship, like at the church, so I'm in front of the congregation, it's not that I'm in this deep altered state that I am in when I'm channeling Sarai, but I definitely will feel somatically like my head, the center of my head starts to feel a little bit of pressure. So I know that I'm connecting in. So
Yeah.
basically, it's a spectrum. So we could be very light in an
Mm,
altered state, we could be very deep. And what's also important to know is that all of us are
mm,
shifting our brainwave state through the day.
mm.
Right. So we're all shifting into these altered brainwave states all the time when we go to fall asleep. That's a perfect example. It's why you're more intuitive right before you fall asleep and when you wake up,
Yeah.
because when the mind starts to settle down, all of a sudden your intuition comes online. So it's wise to notice that. And then the final thing I'll say is that I do use aromatherapy to sort of help me plug in. So
Oh,
every morning when I'm meditating very early, I use a specific scent as I'm meditating because that's an easy time for me to meditate. And then when I'm channeling, I also will use that essential oil. It sort of flips my brain into that state much quicker.
nice. What's the essential oil?
Oh, it's just a blend called Peace that
Oh,
I use.
nice.
Yeah, so it's
Nice.
got clary sage and a lot of other relaxing um, oils in it. You can use anything that works for you. So it's actually just the association,
Yeah.
but one that's calming like lavender or clary sage or something that calms your system is usually the best one to choose for that.
And now when you're accessing Sarai, you're in a deeper brainwave state. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm in an altered brainwave state. I don't know which one. I've never actually like been hooked up and
Yeah, right,
measured,
right, right. Yeah.
right? But I can actually feel it somatically. The deeper the state, the more pressure I feel at the very center of my head. I assume that's something to do with the third eye, but
Yeah.
I'll feel this. It's not painful, but I feel pressure. I can even feel it right now, so I know that she's like, getting ready to blend with me. But I feel this pressure at the center of my head that just gets intense the deeper I go. And
Yeah.
then I feel the energy on my left. I always feel it on my left, and it just feels like sort of like a broadcast that's coming through me. And then I feel Karen sort of off here, off on the right. So like I
Wow.
kind of like I'm still it's not that I'm out of my body, but it's just my consciousness is sort of off to the right, and then the
Yeah.
broadcast comes in on the left.
Cool.
So
And now you also said that you can like, is it true that you can still tune into people and feel if there's beings with them?
yeah, well, sometimes when I'm doing private sessions, it's very apparent. I think we all have guides, for sure.
Yeah.
We all have our own guides and guardians. A lot of the people that work with me do have some sort of star connection, whether it's Andromedan or Pleiadian or whatever. And so there's sort of this sense of okay, this spirit team of beings around a person. And also, I find too that by the time a person either joins my community or wants to work with me one on one, by the time that happens, it's likely that someone from Sarai's collective has been working with them for a few months' time, and so
Oh,
they've like drawn them to the community or drawn them to me, and people are always surprised because when Sarai just starts talking, it's usually something very relevant to what they've already been experiencing or already been asking or already struggling with. So it's very
yeah.
cool. Yeah,
So your
it's very
community
cool.
is a bunch of Andromedan people.
Yeah. So the other point to make about that is that Sarai, I discovered this in a QHHT session, so
Yeah.
quantum healing hypnosis.
Yeah.
I'd been channeling Sarai for about a year, and I had some questions that I feel like I couldn't quite get without going deeper. So I had
Yeah.
a QHHT session, and what she said was that, and this will help people understand what a starseed is. What she said is that Sarai is another incarnation of my higher self. So I'm
Okay.
here, and
Yeah.
Sarai is from our higher self. We fragment and we incarnate simultaneously in all of these simultaneous amazing incarnations.
Yeah.
So when I connect with Sarai, it's like connecting, our mind would understand it as a future version of me.
Mm.
But Sarai said that what a starseed is a person who has a simultaneous incarnation in one of these other civilizations. And through your telepathic and energetic connection with this other fractal of yourself, you can pull in energy and information from that civilization to, again, shift the collective
Yeah.
consciousness here. So
Yeah.
it's not so much that a starseed is like an old soul, because we hear
Right.
that
Yeah.
sometimes. It's a soul who has a simultaneous incarnation in one of these other realities. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, would you think it's true then that the people that Sarai is pulling in have an Andromedan connection?
Many of them do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it's yeah.
yeah, that's
And
so
you might as
fascinating.
well, just based on what you're
I do
based on
think
what you're
so. I
saying.
really do. Based off of
Yeah.
everything I'm hearing, it's pulling
Yeah.
me in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the curious thing that's coming to my mind is like, as we're evolving and we're shifting based off of frequency, if these beings are based off of frequency, are
Mhm.
we going to evolve here on Earth as collectives based off of those frequencies? Like, are there going to be
Yeah.
community of Andromedan connected humans, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
or, like Palladian connected humans?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think first of all, it's not. I mean, I can feel our human mind just sort of going into a little bit of separation around that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
ultimately, it's just when we think of higher frequency. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a frequency that's more in harmony with unconditional love, with joy, with the Andromedans are all about freedom. That's the
Yeah,
energetic quality. That's their energetic signature. So
yeah.
that quality of freedom or that quality of passion. That's sort of what they're trying to bring through. But I do find, and I have found, that community right now is so important for people who are especially identifying as starseeds,
Yeah.
because it is unconventional.
Yeah.
And we can feel like we like the black sheep, like we're very
Yeah.
strange, like we don't belong. And so to find a community of people that actually get you and can relate to the experiences that you're having with some of these extra dimensionals is really powerful. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to share before we bring Sarai in?
I'm just curious if you resonate with that quality of freedom after.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
definitely I'm in on that.
Yeah, yeah, because it's just the common thread that I feel, passion and freedom. But those
Yeah.
are sort of like,
Yeah.
sit side by side. When you find your freedom, you can be a channel for your passion. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Well, before we go in, is there anything that people listening can do to like increase their connection to the Andromedan community?
Yeah, I would say meditate.
Meditate and
Yeah.
and try to connect with freedom. Is that like the
Yeah.
vibration?
The vibration and the color blue, right? So the
Yeah.
color blue,
What
the
color blue?
quality.
Like what kind of blue?
It's I see it as a very royal blue, so a
Oh,
very
okay.
intense royal blue.
Hmm.
And again, this quality of freedom, which again, we don't want to think about it. We don't want to think freedom so much as we want to feel, well, what does freedom feel like in my body?
Yeah.
Or even can I think of a moment in my life where I felt free? And then that memory is the access point to me experiencing that sensation in my body of what does
Yeah.
freedom feel like. So if we can meditate on that quality and even see or sense the color blue as we meditate,
Yeah.
if we already have a connection to these beings, it sort of opens the door for that communication to take place. And if as we're talking about this, if those listening feel a resonance, then it's likely that resonance is an
Yeah.
indicator that you are meant to connect.
Yeah, the interesting thing about freedom is for a lot of people to get there, they have to step outside the current three-dimensional world that exists in their
Yes.
mind,
Yeah,
because their
100%.
life might not appear that they have freedom, but you
Yeah.
can imagine freedom at any time. And when you
That's
start imagining, you draw it in, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And freedom at the end of the day, I mean, if you're not experiencing freedom in your reality, it's nothing to freak out about. It's just an indicator that you have beliefs active
Yeah.
that aren't resonant with freedom,
Right.
that are false. Basically, that's the opposite of freedom when we're in our contraction, when we're in our limitation.
Yeah.
It's because we're believing something that's not true. So if we can release those beliefs, access the energy of freedom that lies beyond that you don't need circumstance really to access it. You just need to sit quietly and
Yeah.
and think of like a moment that you're free. As you amplify that in your body, then again, all these patterns that aren't in alignment with that will start to fall away. So,
Beautiful. All
yeah.
right. Well, if we could talk to Sarai, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just give me a moment or two. I
Yeah.
do
Take your
need a
time.
moment to shift my state. So
Okay.
she'll come in when she's ready. As I'm just shifting, you can just feel if you can sense the energy coming through before the words do, because
Hmm.
sometimes that's very apparent. So,
Oh, cool.
and so we've very much been looking forward to this interaction. We appreciate your participation with this interaction. We'd like to begin by asking you and asking all those listening to take a very deep breath. And as you exhale, focus on relaxing your physical body, focus on releasing, focus on letting go, focus on feeling your body sink down into your seat, feel your body connect in with Mother Earth underneath you, and really deliberately, consciously create an experience of relaxation for yourself, with the understanding that the more relaxed you are, the more receptive you are, not only to the words that are unfolding in this moment, but also the energy broadcast that is being sent to you. What we wish to discuss before we open it up for questions is just, again, this idea of true identity. Our main message is to remind you of your true identity, to remind you that you're so much more than this physical body, this personality, this life story that you have lived up until this point. So in this moment, as you breathe, take another deep breath. And as you relax and as you soften, and perhaps as you close your eyes for just a moment, you begin to remember who you are beyond this form. Remember who you are and who you were before you entered this body, before you started this journey, this incarnation. Who were you before all that began, and just have a sense of that. Now, what we wish to let you know is that that experience of your true self is not a thought. It's a feeling. It's a sensation. It's an inner knowing. And so we would say take all of the energy and attention out of your head, out of your thinking, and instead focus it on your heart center. So in this moment, really feel your heart center, see or sense a brilliant white sun or star in the center of your heart. As you focus in on this sun or star, let it grow, let it expand, let it radiate, let it emanate outwards in all directions. And as this sun or this star grows, begin to sense its energy, sense its frequency, sense its resonance, sense your soul signature. You are an individualized expression of source energy, a divine creation. Really take that in, really breathe that in, really witness that in this moment, that who you are is so much more than you perceive yourself to be. And for many of those listening, what is creating difficulty, stress, challenge, or limitation in your day-to-day experience is only a false belief about your identity. You have forgotten who you are. You have forgotten how powerful you are. You have forgotten your intention for being here. You have forgotten how powerful your thoughts are, how powerful your focus is. And so transformation really does begin with taking a deep breath, with creating some stillness in your mind, with focusing on your heart center, and with remembering in a very felt sense, again, not through the thinking mind, but a felt sense of who you are beyond this form. Take another deep breath. As you exhale, release. And once again, just sense who you are beyond this personality and this physical body. And before we proceed, we'll just offer a reminder. We're aware that Karen offered this reminder, but this is the way that we like to describe it. Your human construct is very much like a computer, where your physical body is the hardware, your mind is the software, and you are the one sitting outside of that computer. You're the user, you're the experiencer, the witness, you're the pure consciousness. And so if you can take that seat, if you can back up a little bit and start to witness the programs that are arising within your mind, or what we call your mental construct, this is again where transformation begins, because your reality is reflective. So as you witness what programs are running, and as you press the delete key on the ones that are not serving you, the ones that are creating chaos and difficulty and stress and challenge and health problems and all of the things you don't wish to experience, as you release those programs, what you find on the other side of that is liberation, transformation, and ultimately connection and embodiment of your true identity, the essence of who you are, the essence of who you are beyond this form. And so with all that in mind, how can we serve you on this day? What questions do you have for us?
Thank you, Sarai. My question for you is it from that place of awareness that we accessed our highest self? And
Yes.
is there anything else we need to do to access our highest self?
It's wise to witness that your higher self or your highest self is always right there with you, right there in the room with you where you now are, right there within your heart center, right there expressing itself through you to the best of its ability. And when we say the best of its ability, it always is seeking for the human vessel, the human construct, to be the fullest emanation that it can be of this true identity. What limits or blocks it, again, are these false thought forms, these limiting beliefs, these energies within the mental body and subsequently the emotional body that are constricting in nature. Now, we'd like to remind you that nothing has gone wrong when you witness this. You are here for the experience of constraint or contraction so that you can experience the liberation and upliftment on the other side when you do come into remembrance of your true identity and you release those thought forms, those programs, and again, you feel the passion, the aliveness, the joy on the other side of it. There's something about that process that brings you great joy. It's sort of like going on a very exciting roller coaster. There's a lot of anticipation when you're going up that first hill. So you're here for the joy. But the joy in this reality does include duality or contrast. So the contraction or the constraint is very much there on purpose. It's just that for all those listening, it's likely that you're listening because it's time for you to break free from some of those constraints so that you can sense and experience the energy, the frequency, the resonance of your soul while you're still here in the body. You don't have to wait for that death experience before you experience that liberation that's on the other side of the release of all that is not truly you.
Thank you. How will we know when we've connected with our highest self?
You'll know that you've connected with your highest self based on the sensation that you feel in your physical body, which is a psychic instrument in and of itself. And so your body is vibrational in nature. It's also, we describe it as a vibrational antenna or a vibrational sensor. It is always aware of what energies are present. And so keep in mind that your highest self or your higher self is an emanation of source energy, which is the frequency of primarily unconditional love, also joy, passion, compassion, peace, aliveness, vitality. This is the essence of your true identity. When you start to feel and experience those things in your physicality and in your energy body, then you know that you're coming into contact with your higher self and you're starting to be a clearer vessel for those energies and frequencies.
Beautiful. Is there anything specific the Andromedan community wants us to know at this time?
We want you to know who it is you truly are beyond form, and we want you to understand that all of these desires that you're holding, it's not that we want to talk you out of those desires. It's just that for many of you, these desires, what they're really pointing to at the deepest level is a connection with your true identity. So in other words, if you are desiring greater abundance in your life experience, in your external reality, what you're really looking for is to become a greater expression or embodiment of that essence of your true identity, that essence or that frequency of abundance. That is your true self. So rather than focusing on external, we would say focus on that subtle sensation of what is it like when I am connected to the energy or frequency of abundance? What does that feel like in my body? In this moment, can I remember just how many cells there are in my body? Can I feel the abundance of that? And as I tune myself to that awareness, that truth, then my external reality moves to reflect that. So we would say what you all have in common, or what many of you have in common, is that you're taking far too much action to create externally without first being an embodiment of the frequency that you are wishing to see externally.
Are you saying that we should slow down?
Well, if you feel into this flow that you see in nature, again, we're aware that Karen described this earlier, but if you really feel into how energy is moving and flowing and expressing in a most joyful way and also in an easy way, meaning it's not struggling, the flower is not trying to prove that it's better than the flower next to it. It's not trying to be something other than it's not. So if you witness nature and see how the divine is expressing through nature, then you may have an indicator that life can be much easier and more joyful for you if you align with that intelligence and start clearing away all that is not really a match to the flow of that through your system.
Beautiful. Karen mentioned that you had said the next few years are a time of choosing. Could you elaborate?
So we would say for many of those listening, what you are on the cusp of is a choice point where you are being asked to choose whether you wish to continue along the road that you have already explored, which is the road of your programmed reality or your programmed identity, meaning the thought forms, the beliefs, the energies that you acquired at a very young age that you are still acting out. This is the old reality. And when we look collectively, if you look out into your collective reality, many, if not most beings are still in that frequency of, we describe it as survival or struggle. So that's one choice, and that's a valid choice. It's not that there's one right or wrong. It's just that in terms of this evolution of consciousness, there is now this higher frequency that is starting to emerge that offers a second choice, which is the choice to release those programs, release that old frequency, release these ideas, thought forms of struggle, survival, scarcity, and separation, and instead start to connect in with, plug into your true identity, this aspect of you that is so much more than the physical body, and then start to, first of all, embody that energy, sit with it, be an embodiment of it, and then let it guide you, let it direct you, let it flow you into a greater expression. Now, this will show itself in terms of your decisions and your actions. So you'll notice that you have opportunities where you would witness, what would I choose? What would the past version of me choose in this situation is a good question to ask. And then when you really feel into it, you can feel this higher frequency of your soul that is not in survival. It's very much in ease. It's in flow. It's in the vibration of freedom and creativity. What would this aspect choose? This is the choice point we're speaking of. It's basically a choice between two very different frequencies. And so if you choose that path of higher alignment, then again, your external reality will shift and change and transform to reflect that new embodied frequency that you are choosing first energetically. You choose it first energetically in your own system, and then your external reality will shift to match that anchored energy.
Beautiful. And now this choice in the next few years, why is this coming about? Is it based off of like an increased frequency on the planet, or is it just something else?
The easiest way we would use to describe it, and we hope that it makes you smile, is that it's a sense of having been there and done that. So if you think of, let's just say that you go to a very exciting place on vacation. You're very excited to go there, and you go there and you spend a week there, and then you love it so much you decide to spend a month there, 5 years there. Over time, you realize that you've explored everything you need to explore in that place. And there's a sense of completion. There's a sense of desiring something new. We would say within the collective consciousness, there's a desire for something new. There's a desire to learn and grow in a different way. So it's a sense that that pattern of struggle and survival, it was necessary for evolution and development, but there's a sense that I've been there and done that. I don't need to play that out any longer. I want to explore a higher frequency, and this is where the collective consciousness is at this moment.
Now, in the collective consciousness, are we going to get to a place where eventually everybody here on Earth is in that higher frequency, or is it going to be a polarized place to live?
We would say that, again, keep in mind that each individual's reality will reflect where they are at individually. And so those that have a lot of polarization within them will experience polarization externally. We would say, based on what we are seeing, that there will come a time when we would say most beings are choosing the higher frequency. We don't have a sense that that would happen in your lifetime. We would say this is an evolution that will occur across, we would even say, centuries. The most important thing to know is that those that find this content interesting are pioneers of the higher frequency. And in order to usher that in, to bring that in, to flow that into this reality, they must anchor it in their own lives and in their own system. And so it's not wise to spend too much time focusing on the old. It is much more conducive to your directive and to your soul's intention to focus on the higher frequency and focus on shifting all that you need to shift within yourself so that you can be an embodiment of that joy, that love, that compassion, that higher frequency, that seeking to be anchored on earth in these next few moments in time.
That's so beautiful. Now, our audience is definitely fascinated on like the new Earth, splitting of Earth theory. And what I'm hearing you say is there's, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is there almost a different Earth variation for every single human? So it'd be like billions of Earths.
That's how we would describe it. So, for each and every individual on the planet, there's not only one reality. Of course, there is the Earth reality that they are living, that they can experience physically, but there is also within the quantum field or the quantum reality, there's all the other potentials of all the other Earths that are just as valid. It's just not the one they are experiencing. So again, if you think of this quality of abundance, abundance really isn't something that your human minds can comprehend on the deepest level. But we would agree with you that for every individual, there is an Earth that they are experiencing. And the question is, what kind of Earth do you want to experience? That's the most important question. And then whatever your answer is, your answer will reflect an energy, a frequency, a vibration. And it's up to you to become the embodiment of that so that you can live in that reality. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It doesn't matter what's going on in the collective. It matters what you are choosing and what you are embodying. This is where your power is. When beings get distracted by external and by others and by what's going on, they are not in a place of choice. They very quickly become in a place of victimhood. They feel that they are victims of what is arising. We would say none of you are victims. This goes back to connecting in with who you truly are at the deepest level. You are creator beings. Creator beings. And so if you embody that, if you step into that, if you make a conscious, deliberate choice to choose passion, choose joy, choose excitement, choose aliveness, choose vitality, whatever it is that is most resonant with you, then that is the Earth that you are creating. And that's where the joy is.
Now, are we the only species, or I guess on Earth that can create its own Earth like this? Like, or do animals have their own Earth individually as well?
To some extent, you could say that animals are creating their reality, but you would understand as you feel into the level of consciousness of an animal, you can very much feel how there's less choice there. Can you feel
Yeah,
that even in
I
this
can.
moment?
I
Yeah.
can. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's wise to notice is that consciousness incarnates in many different forms for the purpose of experience, and every experience helps it to evolve and grow and expand. Every experience is valid, so it's not that the animals are lower. It's just that it's a different, very different exploration of consciousness. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you for walking me through that. Now, Karen was mentioning that your collective vibrates at the frequency of freedom. Could you
Yes.
talk a little bit about that and how we can do a better job of plugging into that frequency?
So, first of all, just think about, or rather feel into this quality of freedom. For all those listening, you could think about a time, remember a time where you did feel free, and we'd ask you to just really focus on that for just a moment. Perhaps those listening may need to pause this for just a moment just to feel into the vibration, the resonance, the quality of freedom. What does it feel like? What does it feel like in my body? What we would say is that it's a quality of the divine. So if you think of this divine creator, many of you can relate or resonate with this idea that the divine in it is unconditional love. It's a very good descriptor. It's not the best descriptor because we would say words are limiting in nature, but it's a good descriptor. There are other qualities of the divine that many beings are seeking to be an embodiment of. And so freedom is another one. Freedom, this sense of freedom, expansion, aliveness, absence of limitation. If you really feel into your true identity or your soul in this moment, you'll be able to sense that quality of freedom. No matter what is arising in your human reality, your soul is not limited by that. So really feel into that in this moment, that the struggles and the difficulties and the challenges and the limitations that your human self is experiencing is not, your soul is not bothered by that. It's not affected by that. If anything, it's excited by it because it knows that it is creating expansion and evolution and new opportunities to create. So when we say freedom, what we're really describing is that felt quality, that frequency, that vibration that is just like a facet. We'll use that term. That's a good term, a facet of the divine. But we would emphasize that it's a felt quality that you sense. And if you're really noticing where you sense it, it's felt in the heart center, freedom. Even when we say freedom, notice how your physical body expands. The heart opens. The chest expands, freedom. What stance does your body take when you're feeling freedom is another good question. And then let your body follow and really feel that expansion of the heart. Where we are in terms of our desire or our directive is to help you create freedom by helping you recognize and realize the limitations within your mind or your mental construct. As you release those, as you identify them, as you let them go, you create the freedom to again be an embodiment of your true self. And that's the freedom that we are desiring for you.
Beautiful. And so when we hear all these different predictions, about there's different things happening, different things coming, is it really all up to our own beliefs that determine what that reality will be?
We would say often the most important thing to witness in the area of prediction is once again to ask who is the one who is preoccupied with these predictions.
Yeah.
What aspect of me is interested in prediction? And it's not that prediction or premonition doesn't serve a purpose. Sometimes it does, but usually for most beings, it's an aspect of their mind that is in survival, trying to predict what's going to happen so I can find a solution before the problem arises and I can stay safe. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, for sure.
And so when you witness that as a movement of the mind, we would say if any of those listening are witnessing this, then just take a breath and realize that as you witness that movement of the mind, you are the one witnessing that. You're the observer. You're the soul. You're the essence. You're the one that knows everything's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm always safe. I'm connected to source. And so we would say rather than being overly focused on prediction, we would say use that energy to redirect towards your human and create a sense of safety, a felt sense of safety through your focus, through your connection with the divine. Because when beings ask about prediction, that's usually what they are asking. That's the question underneath the question. Am I going to be safe? Is everything going to be okay? What can I do to make sure that I'm safe? So we would say that's addressing the root. That's shifting the energy. If you are focused on prediction and you just allow your mind to be always going there, you are not in the present moment. And so you are not being a creator. You're not deliberately choosing. Yes, you feel
Yeah,
that?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, is there anything you want us to know about the Andromedans as a society?
We don't necessarily speak about ourselves or our society often because we feel that takes away from the message that we offer about connecting in with your true identity. But we would say that that one thing we do like to share is that this collective that is speaking through Sarai is a telepathic collective, meaning our minds are connected. And the reason we say that is because what's also true is that your minds are very much connected. Now, you are most closely interconnected mentally with those that you share a bond with, or connection with, or a soulmate connection with. But we share that again to bring the focus back to you, to recognize that when thoughts pop into your head, that's not necessarily your thought. Yes. And that's important to recognize at this time because there are, we'll say, lower frequency directives to hijack your mind. And so guarding your mind, protecting your mind, again, we don't offer this from a place of fear, but we would say be discerning when it comes to your thought forms. And when thoughts pop into your head, just be discerning and be aware that minds are interconnected on your planet. And so you want to be the deliberate governor of your mind. Be careful about what you are letting in. Be careful about who you're interacting with. Your mind is your greatest tool in terms of creation. And so you want to be discerning. We would put it that way. Yes.
Now, how would you recommend us get involved with something, for example, like the Charlie Kirk incident that happened, where it was something that it was like you want to know what's happening, but then when you try to follow it, it just feels like the energy around it is from like a lower directive, like you said. Is it something we should just try to not really connect with at all? Like, how should we go about something like that unfolding?
So we would say to first recognize that when you are consuming any media story or any media in general, that you are consuming an energy in the same way that when you eat a food, you are consuming energy.
Mm.
That energy is going into you and it's having an effect on you. And it's either nourishing you or it's depleting you. So when you think of this particular news story, and we'll just ask you without, you don't have to think too hard, but when you really feel into your body, does it feel like that story was energizing you, nourishing you, or depleting you?
Yeah, 90% of the story was depleting me.
Yes. So if that is the answer, 99% of the story, then in terms of the pie chart of where you place your attention, day to
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
moment to moment, hour to hour, then
yeah.
99% of the time you're going to want to be placing your attention on things that nourish you, and 1% of the time you can take that information in. We
Yeah.
would say when you're taking in information that's depleting in that way, or negative, or discouraging, or depressing, or we would say in this particular story, creating a sense or a vibration of powerlessness, we would say you want to be very careful about how much attention you give those stories. And when you do take them in, you could think of it as a prayer request. A prayer request. So I know this is happening. I know that it's not positive. This is my opportunity to send love, to send light, to send healing, to send compassion to those involved, and to attempt to stay in my highest frequency because I understand that this is where I am of greatest service. If I dip down into depression, into powerlessness, into discouragement, if I allow that to depress my frequency and I dip down into that, I am not able to offer a solution. Not that it's up to you to offer solution, but what we mean is you're not offering an energy that is of any help. You'd understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, right in my life personally, I have so many amazing things going on, but it feels like I'm struggling with the balance of it all. Do you have
Yes.
any advice on that? And maybe there's other people that can relate to having that experience right now.
Yes. Well, you are all very busy. Yes. We look at you and you're all very busy and it's very cute. But we would say in this moment, if you're willing to work with us,
Yeah.
to just close your eyes for just a moment.
Mm.
And rather than thinking of the words that you are using, we would say to tune into the energy that you feel behind this situation. So you're very busy. We can feel your gratitude for all the opportunities. But what is the sensation or the feeling when you are aware of this situation in your life? What's the felt sensation in your body?
Maybe overwhelm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So just feel that for just a moment and breathe as we're going through this exercise. So breathe very deeply. Just feel that overwhelm in your body.
Mm.
You may notice if you are really following the impulse of your body that you may wish to shake your hands or
Mm.
fidget or move your knees or your ankles. So there's overwhelm, there's a lot of energy present. And so let all that energy be there. We just ask that you breathe and fill your body with your breath. And perhaps just place a hand on heart to connect in with yourself and just offering a sense of compassion. So, as you tune into this sensation of overwhelm, we're aware, and you are very aware, this is not new.
Mm.
Yes?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, you can feel this is not a new vibration, this is not a new experience. And so, we'd ask your higher self to step in, feel your higher self right there behind you, putting his hands on your shoulders. And we're going to
Mm.
ask your higher self to guide you in moving back in time and trying to remember the point in time which you first remember feeling overwhelmed.
Mm.
And just describe that to us if you can think of an age or if you just have a sensation
Yeah,
or
yeah, for sure. It was when I was a child, and um, things just got a little busier, like in the household. So I think it wasn't as pleasant of a time.
yes.
Yeah,
So what we are feeling as you're speaking of that, and you can let us know, is that there was some chaos in your house. It feels like other beings were in this sense of overwhelm, and we feel you were picking up on it. Yes?
yeah, absolutely.
So you as a beautiful, sensitive one, always been sensitive, always been loving, compassionate, always trying to help. We're picking up on this vibration of overwhelm, taking it in, and we are sensing that as a result of that, the strategy of your human self was to channel that inactivity. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, 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 for sure. Like kind of
Lot,
just
lots
go.
of activity. Let's just keep going. Let's just
Yeah,
move.
yeah, yeah,
And it feels to us like those around you, your caregivers, that was pleasing to them.
yeah. Yeah.
So there's layers to this because you would have received accolades for this. Good for you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Good for you. You're very busy.
Yeah, right, right,
We see
right.
we see you doing lots of things. This pleases us, and so feel your body laugh because your
Yeah.
body's releasing the charge of this through the laughter, through the smile. I see the strategy of my little human self to deal with overwhelm by being busy, and I also see, wow, I was celebrated for it. So it was reinforced
Mm.
that perhaps, well, let us work with you. So when you think of this little mind, are you 7 years old? How old do you feel you
Yeah,
are?
yeah. I was 7. Yeah.
So you're 7 years old and you are feeling the overwhelm and you're being very busy and you're being celebrated for it. Now, witness that when you're 7, you are forming your beliefs, you're forming your thoughts that will stick with you.
Mm.
And so let's once again ask your higher self to come in
Mm.
and guide you. What was the thought form that began to take root related to your identity around this? So when you think of yourself being celebrated for this busyness, what is the thought form or thought forms that begin to take root?
Yeah, basically that I need to work hard to be
Yes.
loved.
Yes. Take a
Yeah.
deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Where do you feel that thought form in your body?
My neck.
Yes. Feel into your neck. Breathe into your neck. Bring compassion into your neck.
Mm.
Remember, you're the observer, you're the witness. You're the one looking at this pattern. Again, if it was a computer, you're looking at the software. This is what's been driving me.
Mm.
I'm loved when I'm productive. I'm loved when I'm busy. I'm loved when I'm taking lots of action. If I stop, there goes the love. There goes the approval. There goes the acceptance. So I have to keep this going, don't I?
For sure.
I have to stay busy. I have to stay active. I have to stay productive. I have to keep achieving. So just breathe. Now, here's what we want you to really feel in this moment. We want you to just start to feel source energy, this energy of the divine, God, source, the universe, whatever name you wish to call it. It's right there with you in the room. It's within you, it surrounds you, it fills the room. And again, it's this vibration, this presence of unconditional love, meaning doesn't need you to be different, doesn't need you to be an achiever, doesn't need you to be busy, doesn't need you to be anything other than you are. Kyle being Kyle is perfect. Just start to breathe that in. Breathe it in. Breathe it right down to your belly and feel that love. Feel your heart. I don't need to be different. I don't need to be anything other than Kyle. I see this pattern. So let us ask you this. When you're looking at that thought form, that program running in your software,
Mm.
that I need to be busy in order to be loved, or I need to work hard in order to be loved. Is that true? Can you absolutely know that that is true? Or is that a program?
That's a program.
Take a deep breath. Breathe into your belly. And so the second part of the question is put the hand on the heart, really feel your heart, witness yourself, feel yourself. If source is love, that means that you are also love because you're an emanation of source. So bring love to yourself in this moment. So the question is, what would your life be like without that program?
It'd be very relaxing and
Relaxing? Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Would it
relaxing.
be, here's a question, would it be free?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
So feel the freedom.
Mm.
Focus your attention on the experience of freedom, freedom from that thought form, freedom from it driving your actions and behavior, freedom from it being overly concerned about what others think when you relax. Have you found it difficult to relax in your life?
Yeah, at times for sure.
Yeah. So just notice, just notice, just notice.
Mm.
And just feel this energy starting to arise in your body that's very much like a gentle flowing river, meaning
Mm.
there's flow, there's action, there's movement, there's change. So it's not that we're still, It's just that it's gentle and it's alive and it's in alignment with source. It's not pushing. You're not pushing the river. Can you feel that?
Yeah, there's like some energy above me, like some entity that's just flooding energy down into my heart. Feels really good.
Yes, so that's your higher self. So focus all your energy and attention above the crown of the head. See your sense of brilliant white sun or star above the crown of the head. And as you let that light shine, really feel it start to flow down into the crown of your head, into your heart center. So flowing down the central channel, through the third eye, through the throat, and pooling right there at your heart. Sense your body, your human construct, becoming translucent. So think of a light bulb, and your body, your physical body, and your human construct is taking on a translucent quality and this energy that is the higher self. Now that this thought form that has been very limiting, we'll say, constraining, now that that has been released, there's a greater flow of your true self. So your true self now has the freedom to take action based on what it feels like, not based on what you think you should do. The shoulds have started to dissolve.
Yeah.
So now I'm free to just tune myself to my heart and just ask, well, does this opportunity feel like a match for me? Does it feel exciting? Does it feel resonant? Does it feel like flow? Or do I feel a bit of tightness? Do I feel constraint? That's dissonance. If I feel constraint, that means I don't have to follow through with that idea or that opportunity. And what's interesting about this that we really feel, that's sort of paradoxical in a way, is that in this new vibration, you may still be taking the same amount of action as before, but the energy underneath is different, and so it won't feel so stressful. Does that feel true?
Yeah.
It will feel fun. It will feel joyful. It will feel like freedom. I get to choose. I don't have to let this program drive me because in my heart of hearts, I know that I'm loved. No matter how much gets done in a day, no matter how much I achieve or how busy I am, I'm going to be loved the same amount at the end of the day. Whether I get those things done or I don't, it doesn't change how loved I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That's
just
a powerful realization, yes.
yeah, it's coming to me that I just need to take it at least a day of the week to just like bask in the energy of freedom.
Yes, so now you're in your truth.
Mm.
Now you're in your truth. You're not in the program. Can you feel the difference?
Oh yeah, it feels really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we know your body is responding to the truth because there's laughter, there's a smile, there's a sigh. Oh, yay, we get to let this go. That was cute that I held on to that one, but now I'm entering a new phase, and now I get to choose again, choice points. I get to choose based on my resonance versus dissonance. Resonant is this is harmony. This is in harmony with myself. Dissonance is it's not. I get to choose, and it doesn't matter who's disappointed by my choices because I'm loved. I don't need their love. I need my love. I need connection with myself, love of myself. I need to just be in approval of myself and let that be the foundation for my life. And then life becomes much more joyful, much more exciting, much more alive. And this thing that you often you speak of called boundaries, it's very curious to us. But those boundaries just take care of themselves. You don't have to overthink it. It's just that, yes, this feels right to me. No, this doesn't. I'm unattached to your response of how you perceive me, no matter what I say. And so I can just be in my truth. And that is what feels good. And that is what feels like freedom. Yes.
Well, so one of the things that I'm having difficult with is I have so many amazing opportunities that all feel good to me.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so, but when brought together, there's
Yes.
just too many. So I have to do a better job at sifting them out.
We would say again, when you're in your freedom,
Yeah.
it will be easy to choose. We
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that we really do feel another constraint to witness within yourself is again this fear of disappointing others when you
Mm.
turn something down. So we would say that's what this is
Mm.
about. It's not really about having too many opportunities. you can flow with the opportunities. You can take all of these opportunities. You just can't take them all at once.
Yeah.
Right. And so we would say that could be helpful to witness within yourself. I can say yes to all of these, but I have to pace myself. But it's likely that the result of me aligning with me is that there are times that I will disappoint people.
Mm.
And can I be okay with that?
Mm.
We would say that is part of your evolution, is just,
Ooh.
can I
Yeah.
be okay with that? I know in my heart of hearts that I'm a loving, compassionate being. I know that I'm here to be of service, and I know I'm doing that to the best of my ability.
Mm. Yeah, it wasn't safe to disappoint people when I was young.
Yes, right?
Mm.
So just feel into that. In order
Mm.
to be safe, here's the thought form. We'll give it
Mm.
to you. In order to be safe, I have to make sure everyone around me is happy in order to be safe.
Mm.
Right. Here's
Yeah.
another limitation. Now, let us ask you this, where does that live in your body?
I think it also lives in my neck.
Yes, you have a lot of throat
Yeah.
issues, which is
Yeah.
beautiful. Draw all of your energy and attention to your throat, and just, you can even place hand gently on the throat and just offer love and compassion to that pattern. Again, it feels like 7 years old. In order to be safe, I need to please everyone, make sure that they all like me and that they're happy with me. I
Mm.
don't want anyone to be mad at me. I don't want anyone to project their anger or their disappointment, their disapproval. So I better just stay very busy and make sure that everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Now, is that a program?
Yes.
Yes. So just witnessing the software of the mind. Very gently, very lovingly. Feel yourself, your true identity, just witnessing in a very loving way. With so much love, so much compassion, and a little bit of amusement. That's very sweet.
Mm.
But that's 7-year-old Kyle. And I can release him. I can bring him love. I can surround him with love. I can bring him a little blanket
Mm.
so he's cozy. And I can remind him that he's safe no matter what. And that as you go through life, this is us speaking to 7-year-old Kyle. As you go through life, it's inevitable that some people will be disappointed. It's not a reflection of you, and it's not a reflection of your safety.
Mm.
If anything, it's a reflection of them and their limitations.
Mm.
For some that you're interacting with, it's also a way, because they can sense your energy. It's also a way they manipulate you to do what they desire.
Mm.
Not necessarily a conscious manipulation, could be a very subconscious manipulation. Still, just witnessing that and taking a very deep breath and just releasing that breath. Now, focus all of your energy and attention on your heart. Really feel your heart, feel your true self, your higher self, feel that emanation right there at your heart. Feel that broadcast, that essence of your true identity blasting through your heart, shining so bright. Now, just imagine someone standing in front of you. Could be someone that you know from your past or someone in your current circumstance. Just imagine, just let your higher self bring someone to mind
Mm.
that you feel a fear of disappointing that person. Just see or sense them in front of you.
Yeah.
But what we want you to do is focus your energy and attention on your heart and focus on really emanating your heart. So rather than being overly focused on them, you're aware that they're there, but you're more focused on your heart and your emanation and your frequency and your path of service, which is an energetic broadcast. It's not an action or achievement. It's the way in which you show up energetically. That is your offering. So let's just let that person be disappointed. Let's just
Mm.
let them be disappointed, but can you just focus on your heart and being your greatest, highest, truest emanation of yourself?
Yeah.
And can you just let them be disappointed as you focus on your heart?
Yeah.
Can you feel how their disappointment is about their mental limitations?
Yes.
They are holding an expectation in their mental construct that you do not match.
Mm.
That's their mental limitation. It's not that there's something wrong with you.
Mm.
You are an embodiment of love. We see that very clearly.
Mm.
Not about you, is it?
No, not at all.
So just feel that and feel the freedom in releasing that one. You're going to be tired later. We're doing a lot of great work on this day. So
Yeah.
just feeling the freedom.
Mm.
I can flow with life. I can relax. I can receive opportunities and take the ones that feel good to me. I can also, when I turn something down or turn someone down, I can let that person be disappointed. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay for me to disappoint them. I'm still safe. I'm still in my power. I'm still in my heart. I'm still in my love. I'm still in my radiance. I'm still connected to source. I still feel the earth underneath me. I can take a
Mm.
deep breath. No one's going to hurt me because I am a safe space. I'm creating a safe space for myself, this safe container of love. And I know who I am. I know my heart. I know my
Mm.
heart is not malicious. It's not negative. It's not
Mm.
trying to hurt anyone. I know my heart.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feel that little giggle of your body releasing that. Now focus your energy and attention on your throat. Does it feel a little freer?
Oh, yeah.
Notice if your body, your neck wants to move, wiggle, release. Notice a greater energy flow through the throat. And do notice that again, your higher self, part of the energy of your higher self flows in through the crown, down through the throat, and into the heart. If there's constraint in your heart, there is going to be a limitation. So feel the greater amount of energy flow of your
Mm.
higher self now. Can you feel more energy
Whoa.
pooling in your heart?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. More energy flowing down through the crown, through the throat. No constraint now. Into the heart center, emanating outwards in all directions. Your body's translucent. You're an emanation of your truest, highest self. You are love. You are devotion. You are dedication. Your freedom. Your compassion. You are excitement, aliveness, vitality, joy. You are all of these things. This is the essence of your true identity. And you're becoming a greater embodiment of these frequencies so that you can help others do the same. This is
Mm.
what you are doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're going to have a very different day for the rest of this day and even week, month, life as a result of this very different embodied frequency than the frequency you were embodying perhaps just an hour ago. Now, again, no right or wrong, just different. Just different. You're now more expanded. You are more authentic.
Mm.
You're truer. And you feel that. Your question to us was, how do you know that you're connected to your higher self? Can you feel that now as the sensation?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not a thought process, it's an energetic process. I'm clearing away all the debris that is not true so
Mm.
that I can be me. And when I make decisions, I can choose based on my connection with my true self, not my programming, not who I think I should be for me or for others. The choices are based on what feels resonant to me. When it's resonant, it's an indication from the higher self that this is for me. There's something for me here. And so just going back to your question, we understand that you have all these opportunities, that they're all magnificent, but even though they're all magnificent, can you also feel that some of them you have a sensation that it's not yet the right time for that particular one?
Yes.
So that's your answer.
Yeah.
I can feel all of these are wonderful. I'm so grateful. They're all magnificent. I'm so thankful for all these opportunities. And some I can feel that I want to move forward with right now.
Mm.
Some I want to delay. And some I just have to put on the back burner for an indefinite amount of time. Maybe I'll get to them, but they don't feel like they want to be in the forefront. And so this is how you navigate what you are experiencing. And this is freedom, and this is flow, and this is joy. This is God expressing itself through you, just like it expresses itself through nature. There's a continuous flow, yet there's no struggle or strain.
Mhm.
Very much like a river. I'm just flowing down the river, and I feel alive. I feel excited. I feel joyful. I even feel anticipation about what I might experience. And yet I'm also in this present moment, enjoying what's in front of me now. Take another very deep breath. Now, the thought forms that we have worked on with you today are very, very common with those that are listening and watching. And so, what's true is that just in you being you, having the courage to explore this with us, you have helped so many beings release some of their own programming and conditioning.
Mm.
It's very common to be in these programs of inadequacy and not even realize it, especially because of this celebration of productivity and busyness and achievement in your culture.
Yeah.
It's reinforced. It's wise to recognize that I was born loved. I was born worthy. In this moment, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm lovable. That's the foundation that you want to build your life upon.
Yeah.
You begin with feeling loved, feeling worthy, and then you move forward based on connection with your soul. So you're not trying to prove anything, is another way of putting it, because there's nothing to prove.
Yeah.
It's a very different, liberated life that you live when you're in connection and in harmony with your soul. It's a very different frequency. This is why you are all here at this time, is to be embodiments of your highest frequency. In order to do that, you must release all that is not in harmony with that. So you've provided a very beautiful example of how to do this work.
Thank
And
you.
we would say the prize, if there is a prize, on the other side of the quote unquote work is your liberation. It's your freedom. So perhaps that will also describe when you asked, what is freedom? This is freedom. This is freedom.
Thank you, Sarai.
Yes. So take one more deep breath in this moment. As you exhale, close the eyes. All those listening, just close the eyes for just one moment. We always end each interaction with the greeting Sat Nam. Now, if you really feel into those words, you'll feel the vibration. The words mean true identity, or the truth of your identity, true identity. Your true identity is an emanation of source. It carries the same broadcast or frequency as source energy. And so really feel your true identity as a vibration or a resonance or a presence in this moment. And so we beam and broadcast. We beam and broadcast this energy or this frequency of your true identity to you in this moment and in every moment until you're able to anchor and embody that frequency for yourselves. And so Sat Nam on this day to you and all those listening, Sat Nam.
Satnam.
Well, that felt like a big one.
Oh, that was a big one for sure. Sarai. Oh, wow. Thank you, Sarai. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went from being super tight to just like flooded with a whole light show. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful what happens because as we do this work, right? This process of, we could even call it alchemy or inner transformation. There is a real shift that occurs. It's palpable. You can feel it. You can sense it. You feel more alive. You feel
Yeah.
more radiant. You feel more free. What also happens with people is that these psychic abilities start coming online. So
Yeah.
you're more intuitive, you're more
Mm.
clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. These other beings that are surrounding us, you start to sense them, to feel supported. So it's a ride. It's
Yeah, and it's beautiful, and it's like it's the truth. We get caught in all these different things of this prediction or that, but like what just happened was beautiful. So I really appreciate it so
yes.
much.
Yeah, I mean, so grateful first of all because I think it takes courage and vulnerability to do that work, on camera. But this is what it's about. It's about shifting energy, right? And
Yeah.
so you can probably feel in this moment when we think about predictions again, how the focus on predictions takes you out of the work because you're
Yeah.
out of the present moment and you're
Mm,
and you're distracted from what's actually going on in your system. We have to
mm.
bring it back to what's actually arising in our bodies and in our energy bodies so we can transform what's not working and what's not a match to us. So
Yeah. I felt hypnotized the entire time, which is pretty wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
so what that is, that's similar to what I experience when the energy starts to be
Mm,
broadcast through, and a lot of people feel that because your state is being altered. So
yeah.
you experience an altered state. So that's the Andromedans beaming that frequency to you
I felt it.
to help you match it, and through your matching of it, you always have the choice, by the way. This is not like something that's being
Yeah,
imposed,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but we have the choice to match it, and when we do match it, then yeah, we can proceed with the liberation of these constructs is much easier with that broadcast because we can entrain to it, we can match it. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how can everybody listening find you and support you?
Yes, so my website is intuitivekb.com,
KB.
intuitivekb.com. If you, yeah, KB is my nickname.
Yeah,
So
nice. Me too.
yeah. So find me there. And if you want to search Intuitive Karen Bell on YouTube, you can subscribe on YouTube. I have lots of channeled videos. And my links are on my website in terms of social media. And also my Patreon community is there as well. So yeah.
Awesome. And Karen, if you ever want to come out to our home, we have this new
Oh,
beautiful retreat center, and we're inviting all the healers that we've had on our channel to come out in the spring. If you want to come, you're more than
I
welcome to
love
come down
that.
from Toronto. And then we're also inviting our collaborative to come out and stay at any time. So
Thank
you're all
you.
welcome. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I will take you up on that. I'll be in
All
touch.
right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And do
Yeah.
you have any final message for anyone listening?
Oh, I just want to say, I guess one thing that always comes to mind is with all those that are drawn to this information, there's sort of a commonality that many people feel like they don't fit in or they feel
Yeah.
like they don't belong. And so one thing that Sarai always reminds us is that we're not here to fit in.
Mm,
So
mm.
we're here to be a different frequency or a different energy. And so that's
Yeah.
actually a good sign. And but it is important to find other like-minded people so that you do have a sense of community or belonging. So yeah.
Awesome. I
So
love that. You're not here to fit in. All
yes.
right. Well, this was beautiful. Thank you so much, Karen. And I would love to do this again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to as well.
All
So we'll
right.
look
Thank you
forward to
so
it.
much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.